Woo-wee. All right, ladies and gentlemen. It's time once again for another foray expedition into the Paranormal Portal. I'm your host, Brent Thomas, and I am going to do my best to inform you and to keep you wildly entertained, and hopefully you're going to have a good time. Pancakes is in the house. That's a new name. I guess he likes pancakes. Who doesn't, though? It's kind of nature's most perfect food, I think. But good to see you, Pancakes. Thanks for coming in and checking it out. You got Taipan 007 over on Rumble, as well as HB Girl to You, which is Lucky Gypsy. She's over there in Rumble. And not sure what's shaking over in Twitch. Lucky Gypsy's over there, too. As am I. So we are streaming live on 3 platforms, folks. Live and unrehearsed, unscripted. This is actually as it happens, the good, bad, and the ugly. And so you get it right off the press being my mouth and lack of filter. Hi, K-Love. Good to see you. Maggie's in here. Princess Lion's in here. Good to see you. Wizard Moon was in the gate early, as was Deb. Rachel Gets It Right is here. Grumpy Owl, how you doing? Just looking through the names, see if I've missed anybody that's chatting yet. And I think that's pretty much everybody right now that is chatting. Of course, I'm here and you're here. And so I don't know what else to say, but we got a full boat. Unfortunately, Don couldn't make it tonight. Hi, Taz. Good to see you. And SoCal Squatcher. Great to see you guys. Thank you, Aussie Tiger. Don't forget to smash the like. Amen, brother. Thank you for fighting the good fight. There's nobody in the chair or in the chair. There's nobody there, unfortunately. Don couldn't make it tonight. He's just hasn't been getting much rest. So he said he could come, but he'd fall asleep if he was here. So I said, nah, just stay home and get some rest. So he sends his apologies for being absent tonight, but we'll do our best to hold the roof on the place and keep things moving. Of course, we're going to be getting to the news shortly here, and I've got a few articles pulled up for you guys. But as per usual lately, it's me and you. I mean, you guys are my co-hosts tonight, so keep the chats rolling. If you got questions, I will do my best to keep an eye on the chats as well as I can as I'm reading things and presenting things to you and discussing thoughts and ideas that occur within my 3 working pieces of gray matter in my head. So, we'll do our best to keep the ship rolling and, have a good time. Still don't have phones, unfortunately. Don't even know when that's going to happen. What am I hearing? Oh, the minion in the other room. I'm like, what's that noise in my head? It's the minion, Paranormal Portal. I believe the spirits live in a parallel dimension that is intertwined with ours, and that's how they move stuff. I think you're right. I think it's I think they're probably maybe just out of phase with us, out of frequency with us, but yeah, I mean, parallel dimension's a great idea, and you could be absolutely right. There's any number of ideas as to what is going on in terms of what we consider spiritual. Just before we go any further, I would just like to state my belief that not everything that we experience as a spirit was indeed a person. I think that there are things, and I don't mean things in a dismissive way, but just in a different way, that they weren't people, but they exist maybe, as I was suggesting, out of phase, dimensionally removed from us, but yet aware of us. Any number of ideas like that, but they may never have been human. I do believe that we are visited by our friends and loved ones as well. I don't mean to suggest that, that doesn't happen, but I think that we just have these blanket terms, ghosts, spirits, and that's everything that we experience in that manner, in this non-physical kind of here, kind of not way. They're just not quite in our world, but they're not quite removed from our world. Or maybe they can choose. Maybe they can make a choice. they're in their world completely, or they're partially in our world, or they're in our world completely, just not physically. So I don't disagree with you. Good to see you. Barbara's over there in Rumble. Good to see you. Yeah, it's good to have everybody here. Hi, K-Love, again. Good to see you. It's certainly nice to have you back. It's just never the same when one of our regulars isn't here, and K-Love's been a big part of the show for a long time. She's been an incredible help in many, many ways. So I guess without further, well, you all are, don't get me wrong. I'm not singling out any one person, but you all are amazing, and I appreciate all of you. Without further delay, though, I guess we should get to the news and find out just what news is going on in the world right now is in terms of the paranormal. We'll see what I've curated for your benefit, and hopefully you find it interesting, and maybe some of it is awesome. Maybe some of it is just fascinating. It's not always paranormal, but it's always hopefully not a waste of your time. I always try to utilize your time as well as I can and give you things I hope you're going to love. All at once on that medicine, Rachel. What medicine are we talking about, Barbara? I don't know what that means. That sounded funny, though. Very cool. Hi, Maggie. Good to see you. David Zeismer just got here. Good to have you in here, David. Thank you. Vincent Sanchez is here. Good to see you, Vince. I hope you don't mind Vince, and maybe you prefer Vincent, but you'll have to let me know. Portal love indeed. Love for all of you from me, and I mean that sincerely. I got my Sasquatch Chronicles shirt on. I'm just saying. Sporting the gear tonight. Speaking of gear, if you want to help support the show, one of the ways you can do that is look for the Teespring link in our show description. That is one way to help keep the lights on here in the portal. And believe me, with the economy lately, every little bit helps. I'm going to have to hook up a treadmill just, with a generator just to keep this going. It's just crazy. Brant, Rachel's remedy above. What's your remedy above? Let me look now that you got piqued my interest. Where the hell is it? Rachel, Maggie, hope you feel better soon. A bit of tea, beer, and good sleep. I like your medicine cabinet, especially the beer. Hit the beer, you'll feel better, or at least you won't care as much. I don't know. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe you just don't care as much. All right, so let's get to the news. It's time to news you guys up. I'm gonna hopefully inform you and keep you abreast of the news of the world. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to the news and find out just what I've pulled up for your benefit. Chucky, coming in the house. Most trusted news, ladies and gentlemen. And it's kind of fitting I'm wearing the Sasquatch Chronicles shirt because that little stinger there, that splash screen to introduce the news, was made by Mr. Wes Germer. He's such a good guy. So helpful. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, we are going to get to the news now. Welcome to the Paranormal Portal News Desk. I'm your anchor, Brent Thomas, and we're going to get to the news and find out what the hell I did get for you. It's like Christmas every time. You just unwrap all these presents of knowledge and entertainment. The first article is coming from a site that I love and adore, and I can't recommend enough. And this is kind of the caveat on the beginning of every show, but I really mean this sincerely. A lot of sites are working hard to, put out this information and put out things that they're passionate about. And if we use them on the show, I love these sites, so I can't recommend all these sites enough, but please, please, please visit these sites, help support what they're doing, give them some traffic, which equates to ads and dollars to keep their lights on. So definitely support them and spread the word about these sites as well. because they are just really incredibly well done. And the site that I'm going to be using right now is unexplained-mysteries.com. And this is a cool site that I've found invaluable as far as the news is concerned, especially. But just in terms of keeping abreast on what's going on in the world, this is unexplained-mysteries.com. And the article we're going to be getting to first up in the news is this one. If there is alien life on Europa, we might soon know about it. And I don't know how long this article is. Yeah, it's a big one. It's a big one, but I'll put a link. I'll read a little bit of it. And I think oftentimes in terms of NASA and in terms of the space agencies, when they say they're looking for life, other than SETI, I think they're looking for microbes. I think they're looking for bacteria. They're looking for possibly simple plant life or single cell organisms. They're not thinking they're going to pop in on the I don't even know what name to give them, the reptilian buffet or something. You know, I mean, they're just looking for signs that life has emerged in other places in our solar system and in space. So it's usually way more exciting on the headlines than it is in the actual merit of the story, but we'll just start reading this a little bit. It says NASA's Europa Clipper spacecraft will be carrying an instrument that may be capable. Man, I'm going full Daffy Duck here. NASA's Europa Clipper spacecraft will be carrying an instrument that may be capable of detecting signs of primitive life. Lucinda King Europa, I guess it's Lucinda King, quote, or colon. Europa is one of the largest of more than 90 moons in orbit around the planet Jupiter, and it's also one of the best places to look for alien life. Often termed an ocean world by scientists, observations to date strongly suggest that beneath Europa's icy crust there could be a liquid saltwater ocean containing twice as much water as Earth's oceans. Now, NASA's Europa Clipper, the largest spacecraft ever developed by the U.S. Space Agency for planetary mission, may have the tools to detect it. Yes, they may have the tools. As the Clipper spacecraft undergoes final testing and preparations before its October 2024 launch, scientists using one of the 9 instruments on board have made an exciting discovery, as well as determining whether Europa could support life. The instrument in question should, in fact, be capable of directly detecting alien life itself, should it exist there. One of the 3 key ingredients for life are energy, liquid water, and the right chemicals. Interesting. I guess, is it possible that life could have developed utilizing something other than water? Maybe. But it is just a general take of what we consider life anyway. So the right chemicals. Okay. The spacecraft will provide more detail of these ingredients at Europa and therefore its potential for hosting life. Well, there you go. If anybody's interested in more information on this, by golly, I'm going to put the link in the chats, both on YouTube and Twitch, as well as on Rumble. So let me do this and put it in here for you guys, because this is a full-service newscast. And if I don't have time to read it, by God, I'll give you the tools to read it yourself. And that's what we're doing here. And then I'll put it on Rumble, and you can check it out if you so choose. But there you go. That's the first one. They're looking for life on Europa. I'm more interested in the one that's like four light years away or whatever. There's apparently a planet. I don't remember the name. It's probably some number and letter combination, but it's sitting in the Goldilocks zone on one of the nearest stars to ours, and it may very well be Earth-like. So I always find it interesting with this stuff that they literally can use telescopes and examine the way that the light from their suns or whatever interacts with the atmosphere to tell what's going on there. It's like, oh my God, you guys are so smart. That's so brilliant. But anyway, I mean, eventually I think they'll find something going on out there. I think for many of us, there's no question, but to officially document that. Is anybody else in South Louisiana? No, I mean, I'm in the north of Idaho, Taipan, so I'm a long way away from there. So, but maybe somebody else listening is. But if you are, let Taipan know and Rumble. He's looking for other people in the area. Okay, so that's the first article. They're looking for life. Maybe they can find it with the tools on that spacecraft. It's the biggest one ever. Good luck. I think it's possible. Possible. I remember what was it? Valiant Thor was apparently allegedly from Venus. And if you're not familiar with the story of Valiant Thor, it's kind of interesting. It's this gentleman who is allegedly from space and was working with the Pentagon for a number of years in the Department of Defense or whatever. And he alleged to be from Venus, according to reports, which I don't think we knew a lot about Venus back then. But now that we know a lot about Venus, it's like, how are you from there? It's like ammonia and acid rain and stuff. But I think then it evolved into they live underground. And so, well, maybe. I guess you could house a pretty significant population underground. I don't know how much fun that would be, but maybe they got VR. So they got VR on Venus. I almost mispronounced that word. Thank God. Thank God my palate responded in time. Oof. All right. There we go. I'm not gonna illuminate that any more than that, but I'll tell you that I was like, I had a bit of panic there for a second as I was trying to pronounce Venus, but I did it. So, God, I sometimes think I'm stroking out here. All right. So let's get to the next article, which is another article from unexplained-mysteries.com. And this one looks like a goodie. I don't know. It's a 10-page report. And this is coming from the UFO phenomena. So should be much more entertaining in terms of the Paranormal Portal. And this is a 10-page UFO dossier released by Australia's Department of Defense, ladies and gentlemen. So 10 whole pages. I don't know if you've ever read any legal briefings or anything like that. 10 pages is like enough to, I don't know, define terms, and that's about it. But anyway, there's a lot of legalese in this stuff, but let's see what it says. I'm being a little critical because 10 pages doesn't seem like that much when you're talking about the UFO phenomena, but let's see what it says. This is as of April 9th, 2024. The Australian government released the files to the public following a Freedom of Information Act request, with the United States, UK, Canada, and Sweden among the countries to have released documents pertaining to their investigations into the UFO phenomena. In recent years, it was inevitable that we would start to see other countries begin to release what they know about the topic as well. Most recently, Australia's Department of Defense released a 10-page dossier. Does 10 pages count as a dossier? Sounds more like a memo. On the subject, covering investigations and notes dating to as recently as May 2023. Suffice to say, however, the Australian officials seem less than enthusiastic about the subject. According to the dossier, the Department of Defense has no policy governing the reporting of UFO sightings. The Australian Air Force stopped handling reports of UFOs all the way back in 1996 because it found no scientific or other compelling reasons to continue to record or investigate them. And officials are aware of the U.S.-based All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or AARO, and are continuing to monitor their reports. And as of April 19th, 2023, officials are aware that several cases have been examined, but that no credible evidence of extraterrestrial activity, technology, or objects has been found. So another great big 10-page nothing burger from Australia to go with this collection that we have of the U.S. release recently as well. The Air Force's position continues to be that there is no scientific or other compelling reason to divert resources to the recording and investigation of unidentified aerial phenomena, the dossier reads. This aligns resources with priorities, mission, and objectives of defense. You can read the full dossier for yourself here. So you can read 10 pages of them saying nothing, or you can just be content with this article. I'll put this link in the chats, though, because I don't know, maybe some of you want to check it out and maybe want to do a deeper dive into the BS that they're releasing. But, and honestly, I do have a horse in this game because I've seen it. Paranormal Portal, SoCal gave some gas money. What? You did? How much gas money? I didn't even see that come through. I don't even see it now in my chat. But SoCal, God bless you. Love you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Maggie, blah, 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 blah. UAP, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, no kidding. That's crazy. The Dachshund Master. Who's the Dachshund Master? Is that a new name? There it is, the Dachshund Master. Well, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming in and checking that out. I appreciate it. Good to have you here. Always the more the merrier. Hope you enjoy yourself. Make yourself at home. Grab a libation of your choice. Lower the lights. Get comfy. And I'm going to drive you through the rest of the portal. Very cool. Thank you, SoCal. I appreciate it. Nice to meet you, Dachshund Master. Really cool. I love when people find the show. All right, I was going to put links, wasn't I? What the hell did I just do? Let me do this first. All right, let me do this. Copy this link. And I'm going to put it in here. If you guys want to dive into the actual report from the Australian Ministry of Defense, good luck. Again, it's just a bunch of nothing. And it's unfortunate because I don't know how it happened for sure. But I mean, the idea behind government was that they were going to represent the interests of the people. And now it's turned into an elite club of you don't need to know. You don't need to know. And I'm not trying to be political here. I just think that, man, there's so much going on that we don't know. And the intrigue and all kinds of shenanigans, it just really makes you wonder, man, how far removed are we? It's like, oh, go back to sleep. Well, I'm not tired. All right, well, I don't know what else to say about that. It's certainly disappointing because I think at the very least, with any of this stuff, whether it's ghosts, cryptids, and UFOs and strange phenomena, that personal experiences do account for some measure of evidence, and to discount that component of it, and I don't believe for a minute they haven't recovered anything, but officially that's what they're saying. Okay, well, then at the very least, if you take a look at the cross section of people who have had experiences with extraterrestrial craft or extraterrestrial visitors, I mean, can you really dismiss categorically all of them because you can't hold something tangible in your hands? Or is it worth exploring because something's going on that is affecting your, in the case of governments, your constituents, that is both concerning and intriguing, and people deserve some kind of answers. Now, if they don't have the answers, fair enough. Say we don't know. They didn't say there's no such thing. They didn't tell people to wrap their heads in tinfoil. That used to be a real common, dismissive, scoffing gesture by our officials. But at the same time, I don't think they're being candid. And, I've never really held a lot of hope that we would ever get any serious official disclosure because of the one caveat that they have is it's a matter of national security. And they can stop the presses on anything by just citing that. And it's just the automatic brakes. And so I don't know. But I will tell you, I've seen UFO at least on a few occasions. One occasion was very profound, which I've discussed many times in many interviews, and I'm not going to get into it all over again because I don't know. It's just I don't want to sit here and try to retell that whole story. But, and many of you out there have seen things that you can't explain. And to have that just dismissed, well, nothing to see here, move along. I think that's incredibly condescending. And, to each his own, but I guess for me, the big takeaway was I was always looking, and then I saw it, and then I experienced it, and then I knew. And for me, that was a full circle because I'd always wanted to know. I always believed that the possibility was there, a strong possibility that we're not alone. And then when I experienced it, it was like, okay, now I know. And that was all I needed. So for me, maybe that was enough. I do lament the fact that I couldn't record what I experienced. There was no way to. There was no physical means at all, but I saw it. I was there. And so for me, it's knowing. But it would be nice if these governments would be more forthcoming and say, look, I was just watching Stephen Greer interviewed. It was just a clip of one of his interviews earlier today. And he was talking about they had some gentleman that was part of some of the, I don't know if it was Black Projects or whatever. He was the director of it. And he was part of Stephen Greer's team, but has since passed on. But he said that he had firsthand knowledge. He was present and saw documents pertaining to the fact that, we've had anti-gravity mastered or sorted out since the 1950s. But the decision was made to never let the public know. But imagine if the public did know about things like free energy, how anti-gravity and things like that. How much would our society benefit from knowledges like that? And, without byproducts, without pollution, without, the need for, incredible investments in equipment and machinery to do things that may be able to happen with much more simplistic means, just understanding those concepts. How much would it move forward things like architecture, exploration, and our ability to, travel safely and all of that. So I don't know. Anyway, I'm kind of on a soapbox here, and I apologize, but I think it's important that people know. Yep. Oh my God, they quote Kilpatrick in their paper. Oh, do they really? Okay. Wow. What is that? Yep. So there you go. There you have it, folks. But anyway, another official non-disclosure. This time coming from Oz, and I'm sure other countries will follow suit because it seems to be that's what they're supposed to do. I'm sure in these government agencies, there's plenty of people that would love to be able to come forward and say, look, this stuff is real. There's something going on here and something profound, but they just can't. And that's unfortunate. But anyway, it'll maybe someday, but until then, we know what we know. So, all right, let's get to the next one. Sorry I spent so much time on that one, but that one's kind of personal. The non-disclosure is almost worse than just ignoring the whole thing, because you got to know it's just not honest. You have to know it. And so it's just another example of can't always trust it. All right, here's the last article for tonight. And this one is, I don't know what this has to do with. It has to do with the UFO phenomena, but I'm not familiar with this, but apparently there's a new show on Netflix where this is maybe more relevant, but it has to do with the UFO phenomena. And this article is Netflix's Files of the Unexplained. Who was Calvin Parker? Calvin Parker, photographed back in 2019. I don't think this is him. I think this is him, but I don't know who he was. The first episode of the Netflix show explores the alleged alien abduction of two men in Pascagoula. Oh, yeah, the Pascagoula case, yeah. The streaming giant's latest foray into the world of the mysterious is Files of the Unexplained, an 8-part documentary series exploring some of the world's most intriguing and enduring mysteries. The first episode is dedicated to the late Calvin Parker, one of two men who were at the center of one of the best known, and most disturbing alien abduction cases ever recorded. The incident itself took place on October 11th, 1973 in the Mississippi town of Pascagoula. Calvin Parker Jr. and Charles Hickson had been out fishing when they reported witnessing a strange, oval-shaped object with blue lights descending from the sky. The craft was said to have made a peculiar whizzing sound and eventually came to rest a couple of feet above the ground nearby. 3 strange creatures emerged from the object that were vaguely humanoid in shape and stood approximately 5 feet in height. They had no discernible eye sockets and only a small slit for a mouth. In the place of hands, they had lobster-like claws and seemed to move in an inhuman, robotic-like manner. These things got to us. Two got a hold of Charlie, and the other got a hold of me, and they turned around, and they was carrying us back up inside of what I know now is a UFO, a spaceship, or whatever it was. And we were going toward that big, bright light, Parker later recalled. Once aboard the craft, the 2 men were subjected to a detailed physical examination. Oh my God. Can you imagine if you're going to the doctor for a physical and he walks in and he's got lobster claws? Like, no. Bend over and cough. Oh, Jesus. That's absolutely a sobering thought. The incident seemed to end as abruptly as it began, as Hickson and Parker found themselves back on the beach with no sign of the UFO and no indication that anything had happened. Hickson maintained until his death in 2011 that events happened the way he described them, while Parker, too, also remained adamant that their story was true until his death in 2023. All 8 episodes of The Files of the Unexplained are streaming on Netflix now. Well, there you go, and I would recommend checking it out, of course. It'd be interesting. I don't know if they have actual interviews that were taped with these guys or not, but it is an incredibly unique event. I will say that there is other witnesses to this event, but not necessarily supportive of their claims. But who knows how reality is shifted and different for the experiencer versus just a casual observers, because apparently people that were maybe a half mile away did see lights, strange lights, but they never saw anything like a craft or anything like that. However, I think if things are this evolved or this I don't know, advanced, they can probably split perceptions or change perceptions or whatever based on what they're doing. So I don't think that the fact that other people only saw lights and didn't see anything else negates what these guys went through. I certainly seem to believe in what they're claiming. So, but you be the judge. I don't mean to suggest you should or shouldn't believe something, but that's my take on it. So this, ladies and gentlemen, has been a presentation of the Paranormal Portal News. I hope you found it informative, entertaining, and maybe you're leaving here with something you didn't have when you came, a little bit of knowledge or something. So you're welcome. But let's get back to the rest of the show. Now you're making me hungry, Rachel. Chicken brown cow. You got it. That's for Don. He's out there somewhere. Probably sleeping. Poor guy. Probably needs some sleep. Yeah. See. Brown chicken, brown cow. Now we got Homer crying. Homer's crying. Eating lobster in my head. I know. Yeah. Thank you for that. When Mrs. Portal and I were over in Seattle with the Minion recently, we went to this place called the Crab Bucket, and it's right on the boardwalk on the Seattle shore, seafront, whatever you call it. But it was a really cool restaurant. But there's this They bring out basically this big stainless steel mixing bowl full of shrimp and crab legs and all kinds of seafood, and then they dump it on your table. They just flip it over. And they give you these little wooden, I don't know, look like little wooden cutting boards and a wooden mallet. And so people are all over the place, just smack, 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 you know. Yeah, the crab pot. Maybe that's what it's called, Batman. Maybe that's what it's called. The crab pot. Yeah. And it was really, really good, but I got this huge Alaskan king crab leg with the claw and everything. And oh my God, it was so good. I'm literally salivating right now thinking of it. It doesn't help that I'm already hungry, but my God, it was so good. And I haven't had king crab legs forever. I've been eating, you know, snow crab here and there, wherever, you know, you can find it. But yeah, that king crab leg was just amazing. I ate the hell out of that. I just, you know, for the record, it was delicious. Not that you needed to know that, but since we're talking about claws, and Rachel brought up melted butter, my head went back to Seattle and into a happy place. So thank you, Rachel. Now my diet is screwed. I'll be probably eating junk food after I get done with the show. It's not your fault. It's just my weak will. Melted butter, Brent, yummy. I know, right? Especially on those king crab legs. Jesus. I don't know. I think I could live on that, at least for a good spell. Sea insects, hell yeah, I'll suck the life out of all of them. I have no compulsion with that. No problem. I have compulsion, yeah, but I have no problem with that. Not that I, you know, will anything harm, but I can't eat grassy stuff. I can't eat green stuff forever. It's just not in me. All right, so let's get back to the rest of the show, I guess. And what the hell's the rest? Well, I'm glad you asked because I have more. I always have more up my sleeve of paranormal goodness. What the hell was this? I had an old article. Oh, yeah. I think I do want to get into this. This is an article from a site, and it's called Ancient Wisdom. Now, oftentimes we talk about these artifacts out of time and out of place. Out of place artifacts, or OOP-arts. And these are items that don't make sense in a lot of cases where they're found and how they got there. Or it kind of defies the imagination. Like it does. We have an idea of our timeline. Like when things like mastodons were roaming, people might have had, some, chipped stone spear tips with sticks, but that's about it. However, allegedly, things like machined aluminum has been discovered while excavating mastodon bones, which doesn't make sense in the chronology that we come to know and understand and believe. So there's many of these, and I thought we'd go through a few. I do see that one of them may have been debunked, and I don't know. I haven't read it. So let's get into this. Here's the article. Again, it's ancient-wisdom.com, and the article is OOP-arts. OOP-arts, out-of-place artifacts. And this is a neat site. I've kind of just stumbled on this a few times, but there's some that you may have heard of, and there might be some that you haven't. So
Loic.
What did that say? What the hell does Loic mean? L-O-I-C. The ghost box said Loic. I don't know what that means. I guess I should look. What is Loic? Let me pull up a browser window over here, because I don't want to interrupt my articles one. Let's see. What is Loic? Never heard that word before. L-O-I-C. It doesn't even. What is Loic in English? What is Loic? Low orbit ion cannon. Yeah, I was just talking about UFOs. A low orbit ion cannon. That doesn't sound like something that's really out there, right? Low orbit is user-friendly tool. It's a hacker attack. It's a user-friendly tool that launches denial of service and distributed denial of service attacks. Open source network stress testing, denial of service attack. Wow. Why the hell is my ghost box saying something about Loic? L-O-I-C. Maybe it's some other word. Okta. No, that's all I'm getting. Low orbit ion cannon. I don't know. That's strange. That's weird. Well, that came up. I have no idea why. That's kind of mind-numbing. But if the show goes down, it might be a Loic. I don't know. That's weird. That's weird. Could someone, maybe it's the government, like he keeps talking about UFOs. Let's hit him with the Loic. Low orbit ion cannon, but it has to do with network testing. How the hell does my ghost box know that word? This thing's like 15 years old, for God's sakes. The ghost radar that you're seeing on the screen is an old tool. I'm surprised that's even in there. And I never update it, so I don't know. It just seems to work, and I don't know, for what it is. And it's more of entertainment, I usually figure, but sometimes it spits out some interesting stuff. So oftentimes they're dates, which is weird, but sometimes they correlate with actually the day that it is, the date, and then the year something happened. So anyway, let's get to this. Sorry, that was just kind of an odd segue, unintended. But here is the site. Again, this is ancientwisdom.com, ancient-wisdom.com. The first one that they talk about is the Byong Pipes in China. The Byong Cave in China is the location of numerous ancient underground metal pipes that were discovered in the beginning of the 20th century. Traditional science has provided one or two explanations for their presence, but as of yet, there is no definite answer as to how or why these pipes exist, where they do, as they run through the ground and even into the nearby lake. There is no evidence of an associated pyramid, as is normally reported, but the idea that they are fossilized tree roots remains unsatisfactory, making the Byong Pipes one of today's more interesting modern oobarts. Now, this is honestly, when I open this article, it's the first time I've heard of the Byong Pipes. It is interesting. I don't know. I mean, they don't look, absolutely, machined in terms of their geometry, but maybe that's some kind of build up over the years as well. I don't know. Very strange. This is one of my favorite ones, and some people are very skeptical of this, and I honestly have only, I'm only aware of what I've read on it, so I don't claim to be an expert or can speak with any authority to the authenticity of any of this stuff. But this one is the London Hammer from Texas, and this is the USA. The fossilized London artifact has gained notoriety in recent years following its display of an exhibition of anomalous artifacts in the year 2000. It is a perfect example of the anomalous nature of some of the archaeological discoveries. On the one hand, we are presented with a hammer, clearly of human design, while on the other hand, it is embedded in a rock found in a region formed of predominantly Cretaceous rock. The rock was found in June 1934, sitting loose on a rock ledge beside a waterfall near London, Texas. The site is part of a large geographical zone called the Edwards Plateau, and it primarily consists of Cretaceous rock. A recent radiocarbon dating test was performed on a sample of wood removed from the interior of the handle, and the results showed inconclusive dates ranging from the present to 700 years ago. The sandstone within the hammer, within which the hammer has become embedded, was dated to by Dr. AWMED of the British Geological Research Centre. The hammer is identical to commonly used 19th century miner hammers of American provenance, and it's soon pointed out by the geologist NCSE researcher John Cole that minerals dissolved from ancient strata can harden around a recent object, making it look impressive to someone unfamiliar with geological processes, he said. The stone is real, and it looks impressive to someone unfamiliar with the geological process. How could a modern artifact be stuck in Ordovician how the hell do you say that? Ordovician rock? Vician rock? Okay. Ordovician rock. The answer is that the concretion itself is not Ordovician. Minerals in solution can harden around an intrusive object dropped in a crack or simply left on the ground if the source rock, in this case reportedly Ordovician, is chemically soluble. Interesting. There's apparently chains that were found in coal. Workmen quarrying stone near the River Tweed below Rutherford, Scotland, in 1844 found a piece of gold thread embedded in the rock in the quarry 8 feet below the ground level. A small piece of the thread was sent to the offices of the local newspaper, the Kelso Chronicle, for the inspection of the curious. I love the old manner of speaking. Now, interestingly, going back to this though, I had heard that the handle, I don't know whether this is factual or not, but it's something that I heard reported. The handle was both petrified and turning to coal. So there were some segments of the wood that seemed petrified and other segments that seemed to be becoming coal. And that's like, whoa, that doesn't happen overnight. So I don't know. They're not mentioning that in this one. So I don't know if there's new information or more revised information. Anyway, chains that were found in coal. Mrs. S.W. Culp of Morrisville, Illinois, was breaking coal into smaller lumps for her scuttle one day in 1891 when she noticed a chain in the midst of the coal. When she reached down to pick it up, she saw that the two ends of the chain were firmly embedded in two separate pieces of coal that had clearly been a single lump only moments before. Yeah, that doesn't happen normally. I don't think that's just a mineralization. Very interesting. Iron nails in 1851, Hiram D. Witt of Springfield, Massachusetts, accidentally dropped a fist-sized piece of coal bearing quartz that he brought back from California. The rock broke apart in the fall, and inside it, Witt found a 2-inch cut iron nail slightly corroded. It was entirely straight and had a perfect head, reported the Times of London. Here's another one. A nail partially embedded in a block of stone taken from the King Goody quarry in Scotland was described at a meeting of the British Association for the Advancement of Science in 1845. Sir David Brewster, who gave the report, said that about an inch of the nail was embedded, the rest lying along the stone and projecting into a layer of gravel where it had rusted. The depth from which the 9-inch thick block of stone bearing the nail had been removed is not on record, but the quarry was said to have been worked for about 20 years prior to the discovery. So it wasn't just sitting on the surface, apparently. Again, these are old reports, but we have no reason to believe that they couldn't also be credible. Oftentimes we hear these old reports and go, those people didn't know much. But they did. They were still had processes and would know how to investigate things. So, I mean, that's not not only a recent development that we can ask questions and look for truth. So here's one. An iron instrument apparently resembling a bit of a coal drill was found inside a lump of coal taken from an excavation in Scotland in 1852. Scotland again. It was at first supposed that a miner had broken his drill while working a seam and had left a piece of metal embedded there, but the surface of the coal was unbroken. It showed no signs of drilling or any present or former opening by which the drill may have passed into its interior, if such a thing were not quite impossible. According to every date in the geology textbooks, observers would have to believe that the coal would somehow have formed around the mysterious piece of metal. I don't think that happens normally. In France, there's tools in rock. Extensive quarrying was done near the city of Aix-en Province, France, between 1786 and 1788 to provide the large quantities of limestone needed for the rebuilding of the Palace of Justice. In the quarry from which the limestone was taken, the rock strata were separated from each other by layers of sand and clay, and by the time the workmen had removed 11 layers of rock, they had found they had reached a depth of some 40 feet or 50 feet from the original level of the area. Beneath the 11th layer of limestone, they came to a bed of sand and began to remove it to get at the rock underneath, but in the sand they found the stumps of stone pillars and fragments of half-worked rock. The same stone and rock that they themselves had been extracting. They dug further and found coins, the petrified wooden handles of hammers, and pieces of other petrified wooden tools. And finally, they came to a large wooden board, 7 or 8 feet long and an inch thick. Like the wooden tools, it had also been petrified into a form of agate and had been broken into pieces. When the pieces were reassembled, the workmen saw before them a quarryman's board of exactly the same kind they themselves used, worn in just the same way as their own boards were, with rounded, wavy edges. How a stoneman's yard equipped with the kind of tools used in France in the late 18th century had come to be buried 50 feet beneath the layer of sand and limestone, 300 million years old, is a question even more vexing today than at the time of the original discovery. For we know, thanks to the advances in geological and anthropological dating, that such a thing is absolutely impossible, and yet it does seem to have happened. And this was the American Journal of Science and Arts from 1820. Sorry, my eyes are a little fuzzy today. Here are the South African spheres. If anybody needed to know about them, you're in luck. We're going to get into them now. I missed that one. I only know the ones in Costa Rica. The spherical balls found in South Africa. 2.3 billion years old. Dog diggers digging into it. Yep. We weren't the first here by any means. Yeah, I would agree. I think many of these, and could they some of them be just mistakes? Sure. But all of them? Really? And even if only one of these is true, then it's still demonstrating something amazing, just amazing, that there's a hidden history. There's a hidden history. There seems to be series of reboots on this planet, and maybe it's just a cycle that we're allowed to develop up to a certain level, and then boom, back to the caves, back to scratching out an existence, with spears and bow and arrows. Who knows? I mean, it's just that these seem to suggest that there's some ancient civilizations that were here that are no longer here. So, the South African spheres, quote from one, over the past several decades, South African miners have found hundreds of metallic spheres, at least one of which has 3 parallel grooves running along its equator. The spheres are of 2 types, one of solid bluish metal with white flecks, and another which is a hollow ball filled with a white spongy center. The sphere in the photo right. Okay, that's this one. Was found in the Precambrian mineral deposit, making it an unlikely 4,500 million years old. Some of the spheres can be seen in the Museum of, what is that? Klerksdorp, South Africa. At least 200 have been found and extracted out of deep rock at the Wonderstone silver mine in South Africa, of averaging 1 to 4 inches in diameter and composed of a nickel-steel alloy that doesn't naturally occur. Some have a thin shell about 1/4 of an inch thick. When broken open, are filled with a strange spongy mineral that disintegrates into dust upon contact with the air. Wow, well, I think they would maybe spend some time figuring out what that strange mineral is. Maybe. I'm just saying, it might be important. The existence of the spheres came to my attention in 1977 while removing endangered rock engravings from the site where Pyroflite, or Wonderstone, as it is commonly known in the region, is mined on the farm. I don't know what the hell, Gestaptefontein, meaning plugged fountain, near the little village of Adelsdal, about 110 kilometers from Klerksdorp in South Africa's northwest province. I was intrigued by the form of the spheres, grooves around the middle, and the fact that they are as hard as steel, while the material, Pyroflite, in which they are found, is as soft as limestone, with a count of only 3 on the Mohr scale. As you probably know, Pyroflite is a secondary mineral, and the deposits were formed by a process of sedimentation. The volcanic activity was responsible for the forming of outcrops varying in height from about 10 to 100 meters. The smooth and relatively soft surface of the slopes were ideal for the prehistoric dwellers to make their engravings of animal and abstract designs. These outcrops were sawn into huge pieces by means of twisted steel cables running zigzag on pulleys for several kilometers. These blocks were then sawn by the same method into more manageable pieces of about 500 by 500 millimeters. Okay. Occasionally, the sawing cable got stuck on one of the metal spheres embedded in the Pyroflite. They vary in size from 30, what the hell is that? 30 to, 50 millimeters in diameter, and have a perfectly concentric grooves around the center as if they were molded. Inside the hard shell, some have a spongy substance, while in others it resembles charcoal. When only partly embedded so they can be seen on the surface, they are not all spheres, but some are also oblong in form. According to Professor Andries Bischoff at the University of, look at that word, Potchefstroom, retired some years ago, they are limonite concretions due to the relative scarcity of the spheres and almost impossibility for outsiders to obtain samples from the mine. His conclusions have not been verified by other scientists. That's interesting. Yeah. And then there's this, the Dorchester pot. June issue of Scientific America, 1851, page 298, reports that a metallic vase had been dynamited out of solid rock on a meeting hill in Dorchester, Massachusetts. The story said, on putting the two parts together, it formed a bell-shaped vessel, maybe 4.5 inches high, 6 inches at the base, 2 inches at the top, and about 1/8 of an inch in thickness. The body of the vessel resembles zinc in color, or a composition metal in which there is considerable portion of silver. The vessel is chased, carved, and inlaid exquisitely. This particular discoveries illustrate the way mistakes can be made. There is little doubt that what was discovered was the remains of a contemporary candlestick, similar to the one on the right. Maybe. Could it just have been discarded in a crack and somehow fell down into there, and then they dynamited it out and there it was? Maybe. Here's this is the Corso artifact. This is the one that people think is now a fake, and then we'll move on. I don't think we're going to do much more of this. A little bit more. Maybe we'll do more on the next show. In 1961, the Costco artifact. The story goes that rock hunters collecting geodes in Orlancher, California, cut a stone in half to discover a form of mechanical device. Beneath the outer layer of hardened clay pebbles and fossil inclusion was a hexagonal layer of an unknown substance softer than agate or jasper. This layer surrounded a 3/4 inch wide cylinder made of solid porcelain or ceramic, and in the center of the cylinder was a 2 millimeter shaft of bright metal. The shaft was magnetic and showed no signs of oxidation. Circling the ceramic cylinder were rings of copper, and these also had not corroded. X-ray photography top right showed that the metallic shaft was corroded at one end, but the other was affixed to a spring or helix of metal. I don't know what is the proof that it's, yeah, well, it's now believed to be a fake, but is that a spark plug then, or what the hell is it? Spark plug man. Oh, research by Pierre Stromgaard and Paul Heinrich in the Pacific Northwest Skeptics has shown that it can in fact be identified with a spark plug manufactured by Champion in the 1920s. Well, there you go. It was just a Champion spark plug. Now, the interesting thing is could some of these, if they weren't actually ancient civilizations, could some of them be, I don't know, we talk about ports and deports here on the show. Objects just showing up from somewhere. In fact, I just interviewed John Olson on the latest podcast episode, the Stranger Bridgerland author. And he talked about objects showing up in their house that they didn't own, that they were getting these apports, APPORTS, if you're not familiar with it. It's the idea that things can be sent to you through the ethers or whatever. You know, they just appear. They just manifest, and they come from somewhere. People have reported coins falling out of nowhere onto the floor or table or something. And those are all signs of apports, but where are they coming from? And could these be potentially deports? Things that were just kind of sucked away. And maybe it's not as intelligent all the time. Maybe it's just some version of reality where these bubbles appear and cause things to shift. Maybe there's some kind of quantum bubbles or spatial bubbles that just move things. And we encounter them, perhaps. I don't know. Just some thoughts, but I think it's interesting all the same. So, I don't know. Again, I'm not telling you to believe or not to believe, but I think it's very interesting. Very, very interesting stuff. So, this has been a little exploration into some OOP-arts. We'll probably do more on Friday when Sheldon is here. If Sheldon is here this week. I don't know. Jimmy's going to be here Saturday, though, ladies and gentlemen. So, we'll get Jimmy back on Saturday. Chucky's Spotify screwed up today. What? What the hell, Chucky? I don't know. I need a drink, though. I know that. Let's see. Stairway to Heaven. And she's climbing the stairway to heaven. Did it sound like it? I was going for it. Yeah, portals. Exactly, SoCal. I've wondered the same thing about the missing 411. When groups of people are walking along and somebody's just gone. Boom. Gone. Could it be some kind of spatial anomaly where they maybe just aren't there because they're somewhere else? They maybe got transported, teleported. I think that there's probably some kind of dimensional rhythm for those things, that they happen naturally just because this is a multiverse, and perhaps sometimes these multiversal layers in some way or another bump into each other just through their natural respirations or rhythms. And then when that happens, these anomalous things happen. And maybe they transport people possibly to a different dimension or to a different area. And might not be a good area. And that's just a thought, but that's a great thought. I made a crinkle water bottle emoji specifically because of you, Brent. Aw, thank you. I got to see that. Are you on Discord, Miss Firejack? You'll have to put it up there if you are. I'd love to see that. Speaking of Discord, on Saturday we'll get into the Discord question of the week, but you all are welcome to join it. The link is also in the description below the show. So if you look at that, you should find information about that. Yes, I heard about that. Underground civilizations, but I can't for the life of me remember what I was listening to. Something about Hollow Earth. Yeah, Hollow Earth is an interesting idea. Again, we covered that on the last question of the week, but it is interesting. Okay, thank you, Miss Firejack. I'll look forward to seeing it. The crinkled water bottle. Did it sound like Stairway, though? I was going for it. I'm just being stupid. Sorry. All right. I guess it's time for some creatures. Time for some cryptids, folks, because we love us some cryptids here on the portal. It's a big part of our daily diet. Our buffet of the weird is strongly anchored in the last hour in cryptozoology. And this is the pursuit of things like Bigfoot, Dogman, Loch Ness Monster, although we don't talk about Loch Ness much, but, it's certainly a part of cryptozoology, and many more. The rake, or the pale walkers or crawlers, pale crawlers, and any number of other things, lizards, mantis, things that may be extraterrestrial, but they might be cryptids of some sort too. So we explore it all. But Lily lives cryptids. She lives or loves to live cryptids, or gnomes. Yeah, we cover gnomes too. That's true. We've done those. Predator, I met him, Bim Jim says. Maybe. No, I don't. Hope you're. I guess you're still here to talk about it, so that's a good thing. Lily loves cryptids. Yeah, absolutely. We all love cryptids, and so we're going to get into cryptozoology now. The creature corner here, the cryptid corner here on the Paranormal Portal. I almost said Sasquatch Chronicles because I'm reading the heading of this page. So we're going to get into the cryptid corner now, and we're going to dive into some reports of some strange creatures. We're going to start with Sasquatch Chronicles. And again, this is Wes's blog, his website. You may be familiar with SasquatchChronicles.com, but if you're not checking out SasquatchChronicles.com, you're missing a whole bunch. The podcast is amazing. But also he posts so many great stories and articles and intriguing ideas and reports from other shows and other sources. But I like to highlight the listener emails that he posts, because Wes gets a ton of these things, and there's no way in hell he could make shows out of every one, just because, he'd have, he's over 1,000 episodes now, but he would be well over 10,000 if he did every email into a show. And there's just not enough time in the days for those things. But I do like covering them because they are fascinating and good insights. Whenever a person has an experience, it's a window into a moment in time that they live through. And, are they all factual? Well, I don't know. But if they are, they give us a little glimpse into maybe some behaviors or some patterns that emerge through the case of many stories that may help us to understand at least some of the nature of these things. And so I think personal experiences and witness events are really, really important, because we can look at footsteps and, that are casted and such, and get an idea of weight and, the scale and scope of the physicality of a being. But you don't learn about their behaviors simply by, seeing where they walked, but you do by observation. And everybody, always sees something a little differently, or maybe they see the same thing somebody else saw, which in those cases corroborates, behaviors or shows patterns. And I think that's value. But also some people have just observed things a little differently than everybody else. And some little feature or thing that they observed can be, groundbreaking in understanding what these things are and what they're doing. So we're going to go to this, and this is, again, Sasquatch Chronicles blog, and special thanks to Wes for letting us put it on the show here on the portal. So let's get into it. The first one, April 7th. It was moving in a weird way. I should actually put that trailer out too. We'll talk about that in just a little bit here. It was moving in a weird way. A listener writes, I'm from Northern Illinois and just getting a hold of you because my daughter and my grandkids recently had a sighting of a Sasquatch. It was in a rural area, standing behind a septic tank at a friend's house as she pulled up. She noticed it about 25 yards away, standing at the end of a septic tank. And it was bobbing up and down and moving in a weird side to side, a weird way, side to side rather. She said it was about 7 to 8 feet in height and really wide and heavy. While looking, her husband came out of the house of his friends because she was picking him up. They were all in the car when they seen this, and as soon as they turned the headlights toward the creature, it was gone. Never heard of Sasquatch in this area of Illinois. Yeah, sometimes it's surprising where they pop up. And oftentimes we have this notion that they require deep forests. And while I think primarily they prefer to be in deep cover and forests and stuff, there's many sightings in agricultural areas, many sightings of people seeing them traversing fields and observing livestock and such from, really pretty minimal woods and forestry. So, oftentimes in agricultural areas, you'll have these slivers of forest, and I think they serve primarily as windbreaks to keep down erosion and stuff. That's why they were kept in and not just continually made into fields. But they do seem to be able to traverse those areas really well. And, again, we're just not outside a lot in the nighttime and observing in such a way as we would catch them where they go when they go. But they are, again, I think that Sasquatch is probably the most successful biological being on the face of this planet. They can be found in mountains. They are found in swamps. They have been sighted in deserts many times. They're sighted in grassland areas or plains. They're sighted in the worst, thick scrub that you can imagine. And wherever they are, and this is something I haven't said for quite a while, but I've said many times on the show, wherever they are, they don't just survive, they thrive. They do just fine. So, and I was talking to Bobo on the show. I was interviewing Bobo, and a great guy, just incredibly intelligent. And I said that to him, and he's like, well, human beings are really successful too. And I was like, yeah, I appreciate what he said, but yeah, we certainly are found everywhere, but we're only in all those different places because we can recreate our comfort wherever we go. We can create, these little homes and constructions that accommodate our comforts so that we can be there. But these things are surviving. They are in the elements and doing just fine wherever that is. It's just really incredible. It's when all the nations get together as a big powwow. I don't know what RJ's talking about, but it sounds interesting. Maybe they vibrate very highly, higher than our vision can see sometimes. Yeah, it's possible. People talk about Bigfoot disappearing, and it's a common thread in all of the paranormal. These physical manifestations, whether it's spirits, look as real as you or me, and suddenly they just melt away. UFOs appearing, melting away, disappearing. Cryptids, the same thing. And possibly that does talk about, the possibility that they are, these are denizens of some other part of our reality that maybe is just out of phase with us. Or again, I keep using phase because I think of frequency all the time. I think about us experiencing what we experience in our lives and in our journeys because we are perceiving through a common frequency the world around us. But what if there's so much more than we can perceive just because we don't have the physical tools to perceive it? And that's where I think things like, the pineal gland and the psychic awareness and stuff kick in and help people pick up the extra stuff that we don't perceive. So interesting stuff. And it's a very short take, a very short article, but it's still fantastic. And there's one of those pictures, a picture of, I guess, the septic tank that it was standing by, and it was apparently 7 or 8 feet tall, bobbing up and down, side to side, very big, 7 to 8 feet. That's a lot of being. I just constantly think, what would that be like? And it was when I was at Squatch Fest with Don. There was I guess an 8-foot Bigfoot statue out there, and I stood next to it, and I was like, oh, this would be like it. And you feel really small. You feel tiny when you're standing next to something, that big. That's just incredible. So very cool. Let's go to the next one. There's only one more from Sasquatch Chronicles, and let's get to that. And this is another short one, but this is actually a show that is live on Sasquatch Chronicles, and you'll probably want to listen to it if you haven't, because it's called The Neanderthal in Our Camp. And check it out. We'll read what we got here. Tonight, I'll be speaking with Skylar. Skylar said, my family and I were camping in Central Oregon, and one night I heard something or someone going through our stuff. I shined a flashlight on whatever or whoever this was, and what I saw shocked me. It says, I don't believe in Bigfoot, and my mind went to, that looks like a Neanderthal, like a man, a really big man. I think I was in shock because even the next day, I was in a fog. The next night, this Neanderthal man returned, but it was a different one. I got a really good look at that one. So, again, check out that show. It's live now, Sasquatch Chronicles, which is available anywhere you listen to podcasts. And that sounds like a great interview. I haven't heard that one yet myself, so I definitely want to check that out. But, yeah, really fantastic. So let me do this, though, before we go any further. And I'm kind of putting it out there. It's a trailer that was released, and I released it as well, but I want to highlight it because it's really fascinating. It's another a film that's being done by Tony Merkel and Merkel Media, and it'll be releasing some point in the future here. So I think it's at the beginning of May he's releasing it. But I'm going to play you guys this trailer. It's probably going to cause my video to get demonetized, but that's okay. I don't care. It's worth it. It's worth it.
I've never seen anything that big before.
That's not what I wanted to do. I didn't want to do that yet because if any of you haven't ever seen Wes, you'll get a chance to see what Wes looks like here. All right, here we go. Let me do this. Let me do this. All right, so the video is called Sasquatch and the Missing Man, and this is a teaser Tony put out about this project. Now, I will tell you that part of the project was that Tony and Wes have been great friends for years and years and years, a lot longer than I've known either of them. They've just been they're really like brothers. They're just great friends, but. Wes, for any of you that know the background, had his catalyst for him to dive into the Bigfoot world was having an experience with his brother Woody. And if you've never heard that story, it's absolutely sobering. And I'm really glad I wasn't there because I wouldn't want to see it. Now, I will just say that what they do is they go up and revisit the area where that happened. And Wes explains, at least in part of the clip here, you'll see Wes explaining some of what he saw. Then their whole experience evolves because they find something absolutely, I don't know if it's horrifying or curious anyway, but it kind of turns horrifying. So again, this is Sasquatch and the Missing Man. This is the teaser trailer that Tony put out. And let's check it out.
I'd never seen anything that big before. Wasn't a man, wasn't a monkey. It was like watching a giant. It collapsed.
Just collapsed.
Like a spider.
It's the only way I can describe it. There was nothing primate about the way this thing moved.
He was like, I think we're being surrounded again. I thought it was just, I hate this place, man. I really want to go.
Noticed me, then it went down on all fours and moved in a way that buckled my knees like a cuttlefish or an octopus.
How long has this been here?
Like 2 weeks.
I don't know, that whole scene to me looked like someone left in a hurry.
This freaking car's still there, man.
Something doesn't feel right.
I think somebody's missing.
Yeah.
Or take it.
And like I said before, man, there is no help. You are the help up here.
Yeah.
There's no 911 up here.
Out of my peripheral, I caught a red light and I looked over and I could see two red eyes. It was definitely self-illuminating.
Okay.
A lot of people get uncomfortable when I talk about that, but that's what I saw.
It's you look at that picture and it's asking you to see it.
I know. This is the frame I'm talking about.
Wow. Whoa.
Just now? Yeah, it went.
Or did it rain?
I heard the knock. I thought it was you.
No, that was me. That's why I turned to you.
It wasn't me.
You guys should hear that.
Just now?
Most of this, I think, is bullshit. but that was real.
Well, there you got it there. A couple things I'd like to point out, and you know, I've had the benefit of knowing Wes now for several years, and he's not I don't know, for lack of a better term, the term from Tombstone comes to mind. He's no Daisy. It's like Wes is a man's man. He's just one of those guys. He used to be. He's done many things in his life, but he's worked a lot of hard jobs, and he used to be a bouncer at one point, and he's not a timid man by any measure. Now, what I take from this is that candid moment that they caught on camera when Wes just looks up and he can see the stress in it, and he does that chuckle like, I really hate it here. I just want to get out of here. I mean, that's a very profound moment of someone reliving a memory that they probably don't like to revisit, and whatever they saw that night, it left an incredible mark, and I guess in a very good way, because it launched Sasquatch Chronicles, which has brought many people, given many people a voice to talk about their experiences and share. So I mean, it's very sobering. Now, I will tell you that the van part of the story and the missing man part of the story becomes pretty wild. And so I do recommend, if you're into this stuff, if you're curious, about what was experienced by Wes, you want to see him explain it in his own words and at the location, definitely you'll want to check this out. It's just very profound and looks like an amazing video. So, of course, kudos to Tony for doing it. And I think when he talked to Tony, but Tony said he could tell Wes was upset. Yeah. Well, I mean, you can see Wes was upset. It was captured on film, and again, Wes is not a pushover type of guy. He's a strong man, and he's kind of a giant man, and it's just, he's not the type to be timid in any way, but you could tell it was getting to him. So, but anyway, I just wanted to promote that because I think what Tony's doing is really incredible, and a lot of the things Tony is doing is really incredible. I think he's really pushed the needle so far ahead, and he's been incredibly ambitious, and the guy works on an energy level that I can't even understand. Like he survives on very little sleep, and I mean, naturally so. He's just doesn't sleep much. If you ever talked to Tony or heard Tony explain it, when he was starting out the confessionals, he was, working a full day and then doing the confessional stuff until the wee hours of the morning, and then sleeping for a few hours and then going back to work. And that was his cycle. It's just, he works on a whole different level. So my hat's off to him. He's just one of those incredibly motivated people. And my hat's, he's very hyper. My hat's also off to Wes for, taking him up there and showing him that location. And as you'll see, it's a good thing they went. So I'll leave it there, but check out theconfessionals.com or, for more information and details about when this actually comes out and how you can be a part of maybe even the premiere if you want, or to check it out after it goes live. Either way, it was sad to hear that Bubba was killed by those creatures. That recent interview, Tony did clarify that. I don't know what that means for sure. Wes said that wasn't bad. I don't think it's live yet. No, it's not it won't be live until I think the beginning of May is when Tony's going to release it, but very cool. Speaking of releasing things, I've been teasing it forever. And I'm happy to report to you that in the next couple days, maybe even tomorrow if I can get everything done, I'll be posting the Davenport Hotel investigation that Charles Howard Johnson and I did last year. We've got the video all wrapped up. I just got to do a couple of tweaks, and then I'll be pushing it live. It'll go live to our YouTube channel members first. I'm going to give you guys a few days or whatever, and then I will push it live for everybody after that. But our channel members will get the sneak peek of that investigation video, and then after that, I will post it on Rumble and open it up to everybody on YouTube. So that'll be coming out pretty soon. We had a really good investigation. Some really cool stuff came up and happened, and I was glad that we were able to document most of it. The only thing I didn't document on there was the slipper story. Actually, my flip-flop story, and I shared that. The location is called the Davenport Hotel. It's in Spokane, Washington. And it's a pretty well-known haunted location, but it's not the creepy, scary kind of haunts. It's like living history is there. That people love this place, and they hung around, and they continue to hang around. I'm convinced that they're still there. But my flip-flop story is when we went there, Charles had gotten us the clown room, or the circus room. It's called the circus room. It's notoriously the most active room in the hotel. And we did some sessions in there and stuff. But one thing I noticed, which was really weird, and this isn't really cryptid related, but I'm just throwing it out there because we're talking about premiering videos, and this one will be coming out. You won't hear this part in the video, but this is a true story. So whenever I take off my flip-flops, and I'm always in flip-flops because if I could, I'd be barefoot everywhere, but I can't. People don't like that, so I wear the flip-flops. But I always just put my feet together and just lightly step out of them so that they're right there when I want to lightly step into them and go again. And I came into the room and was talking to Charles, and I took off my shoes next to my bed. And these are huge, like king-size beds with huge headboards. You'll see it in the video. It's just really ornate and beautiful, but a little weird because it's a circus room. It's decorated like circus colors and motifs and stuff. So it's a little odd. But anyway, I take off my shoes, and I'm talking to Charles. We're doing this, that. And then I went to the restroom, and I came out, and we decided, well, let's go check out the lobby and do some filming, some B-roll and things like that. So we did. And we were going to. And I go to put on my shoes, and next to my bed, there's one shoe. And I'm looking around like, where the hell's my other shoe? That's weird, And so I was like, well, this is strange. But then I had the idea, look under the bed. So I look under the bed, and there in the middle of the bed underneath is my flip-flop. It's all the way under the bed. And I'm like, huh. I must have absentmindedly kicked it, and sent it under there. I didn't know how I did it, but it was peculiar. But I didn't dismiss the fact that it could be just something that happened in just a moment. And flip-flops aren't really made of much. So they're not like heavy. They're not hard to move. But there, I dug it out, got my shoes on. We went and did our thing. Later on, came back to the room. And this time I very intentionally and deliberately paid attention to how to take off my shoes and to make sure not to bump them. And I took out my feet and stepped away and saw that they're both there. Went and did some other stuff in the room. We did some investigating in there with like the voice stuff and a cat ball and some flashlight tests and stuff. And we were going to go down to the lobby, went to check. There's one shoe again. I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. Now, I had not been walking there at all. It was right on the side of the bed next to the bedstand, so it's not like a traffic area. Nobody was walking there. I was like, you got to be kidding me. I looked under the bed. Halfway under the bed is my flip-flop, still, again, under the middle of the bed. So I'm like, and it happened 3 times total while we were there. So very interesting. This is at a haunted hotel. I didn't have any cats there, unless you're not talking to me, Elaine. Brent's got a little person in his house. Oh, do I? That might explain a lot, actually. I'm okay with them being here. That doesn't bother me at all. As long as they're not creepy and horrible, then they're welcome to be here. Spirits, little people, I don't care. They're all welcome as long as they're loving and kind and just, nice people. So sorry, Camp, keep my eyes open. That's okay. All right. Good night, Maggie. Thanks for coming in. So that's something that'll be coming up in the next day or two. If you're a channel member, you'll get early access to it. And it's just one of my ways of saying thank you, because you guys are helping me a ton by being members of the YouTube channel. So thank you so much. Let's get to another story here, because I got more and we got more time. So let's do it. We're done with Sasquatch Chronicles now. Yep. So we're going to move over to Phantoms and Monsters, ladies and gentlemen, because Lon is always serving up a big batch of the creepy cryptids over there. And we got a Bigfoot story to start it out, but we're going to get into some Dogman stories as well. So that's the sound of refreshment, folks. If you're new to the show, I feel like I have to announce it and I announce it every once in a while, but I got a crappy comment on YouTube one time about, I like the show, except that annoying drinking from a water bottle. It's like, what an obnoxious sound. It's like, so now I, of course, have to do it extra obnoxiously just because I'm a dick. No, I'm not really too much of a dick, but it's just funny to me. That's how my head works. That's my favorite noise. Misfire Jack. So anyway, but one of the ways you can get the biggest rise out of me is to leave a snarky comment. I'll be sure to repay it in kind. That one wasn't too bad. I mean, it's a nice show, but I hate that bottle. Can't you get a cup or something like that? It was like something like that. Just really snarky like that. I'm like, oof, that's a little abrasive. But anyway, let's move on to the Bigfoot story from Phantoms and Monsters. Again, support phantomsandmonsters.com as well. Lon has amazing stuff over here. Thousands of stories of creatures and other weirdness and oddities that you'll want to look into. And you can find all of Lon's published works listed on the site, as well as information about his podcast, which is Phantoms and Monsters Radio. And that's also a YouTube channel. So if you like the portal, subscribe to that, because Lon does live streams every week where he talks about some of the things from his sites, some of these articles like we do, or other things that he's working on. They have research community established through Phantoms and Monsters as well. And it's really pretty fantastic. So, all right, let's get to the article. This is from Wednesday, April 3rd. It's been here for a while. Bigfoot cryptid activity in Patapsco State Park, Maryland. Any of you from Maryland out there? Any of you from Maryland? Well, this goes out to you. I received the following report concerning cryptid activity in Patapsco State Park in Maryland, very near to where I had my Bigfoot encounter in May of 1981, and a more recent report. Hi, Lon. I discovered your website trying to research cryptids in this area, and I was shocked. Didn't I read this one? Did I read this one, folks? Did I just forget to close it? Anybody remember? Because I remember reading a Bigfoot story that Lon also mentioned it was near his area. I don't know if this is a different one or not. Maybe I forgot to close it. I think I'm going to skip this one because I don't want to redo another story. Sorry about that, folks. If my YouTube just did it again to me. What is it doing to you, Grumpy Owl? Is it disconnecting you? It's become a part of the show. Yeah, it has. All right. I don't know what YouTube's doing to you, but I hope YouTube gets its act together and stops doing whatever it's doing. All right, let's get to the next one because I think I covered this one. I'm going to skip it and read it later. If not, I'll do it on Friday's show. Here we go. Upright cryptid canines. Is there any tangible evidence that upright or cryptid canines mauled humans? This is from Thursday, April 4th, 2024. Let's see what it goes. During an April 2016 Arcane radio show, that's Lon's, the old name for what is become Phantoms and Monsters Radio. So back in 2016, it was called Arcane Radio, just for some background. Sean Forker and I discussed that we had not heard of an upright or cryptid canine attack. A few days later, I found one instance that raised my attention since it occurred in an urban area, and the following is a newspaper account. Search continues for dogs that killed Tulsa man. Monday, March 29th, 1999. Tulsa, Oklahoma. Tulsa police remained confident Sunday that they would locate 2 large dogs that attacked and killed a man on Saturday. I think eventually we will find the dogs, said Sergeant Wayne Allen. We're still looking in the area. Allen said authorities had expanded the search area from the immediate area where the attack occurred at about 4:30 a.m. Saturday, and that police and animal control officers would continue to actively look for the animals through Sunday. He identified the victim as Daryl Robertson, 42, well, he's very young, who lived just a few blocks from where the attack occurred at 4:30 a.m. Saturday. Allen said police were sure Robertson was killed by the dogs. We know the throat wounds were pre-mortem. He was still alive then. Oh, that's horrible. Allen said some of the others were post-mortem, but the wounds that probably killed him were the throat bites. He said a newspaper carrier called police after he chased off the dogs as they chewed on Robertson's body, which was found in the middle of a North Tulsa street. The carrier chased the dogs off again when he returned and saw that they had resumed their chewing. Oh, God. Allen said police weren't sure what kind of dogs were involved in the attack, but were relatively sure they were Rottweilers. The newspaper carrier, Allen said, could only identify the dogs in the pre-dawn darkness as either large black Rottweilers or Doberman Pinschers with bobbed tails. Sergeant Greg Matthews said Robertson apparently had not been in the street long when the newspaper carrier found him. The investigating officer said it was a terrible scene. It was very traumatic, Matthews said. The officers said he was not a small guy. Had it been a child? Yeah, no kidding. Police advised people in the area to be careful with their young children until the dogs are captured. We're advising people that we possibly have 2 Rottweilers who attacked a grown man and caused his death, and to use their own judgment in letting their small children outside. Yeah, I think you don't judge that. You just keep them inside. Please note the fatal dog attacks have seemed to have increased every year since data has been kept. This particular attack occurred in an urban area, and it seems that neither dog was ever captured. Most of the dogs described in these reports are said to be large and dark, and some of the victims have been removed by the predator to other locations in some cases. The carnage has been likened to a shark attack. There has never been a documented case of a wild wolf killing a human being in the United States, but canine fatal attack statistics compiled by the Humane Society rank wolf hybrids in 6th place, behind Malamutes, Huskies, and Shepherds, Rottweilers, and Pit Bulls. So yes, it's true that domestic dogs have been known to attack and kill humans, but some of these attacks seem to be more than mere attacks by domestic animals. Sure, there's been a variety of anecdotal evidence or word-of-mouth accounts. For instance, the Land Between the Lakes tales where multiple people were said to have been attacked and or mauled. I'm not sure if any of this information can be designated as an upright or cryptid canine attack since we have scant evidence at this point. Nonetheless, I believe that all avenues need to be taken into consideration. I'd be interested in the reader's thoughts. Yeah, I think that's interesting. The curious part is that they never found them. They never found the 2 dogs or the 2 canines that did it. So what happened? And, I can't help but wonder about things like even skinwalkers. Again, where was this? Tulsa, Oklahoma. So that's not too far removed from, the native lands of the skinwalker. In fact, I think that area, RJ would cry wolves. It's been doing that to Instagram and TikTok. Oh. I don't know what's happening. What's happening, guys? Maybe their system was overwhelmed tonight, or there's a glitch in the update. What's going on? What are you guys experiencing? I would like to know what you guys are experiencing. Yeah. But it does make me wonder about skinwalkers or some other form of, other thing. Again, I don't pretend to know, but I mean, the odds are it's just some dogs, but are they feral dogs, and why didn't they find them, or why didn't anybody else get attacked? The old saying that if a dog gets a taste for blood, or an animal gets a taste for human blood, then it will just start preying on animals. Happy Wednesday, friends. Have a skinwalker besides the Navajo Nation. Well, I mean, there's lots of First Nation histories of shamanistic transformations. That's, I think, pretty almost universal, I would say, but I don't think that it's all skinwalkers. I think skinwalkers is a very specific type of being or entity or evil, I guess. I don't know. They weren't always considered evil. Oh, Crywolf is a coyote wolf hybrid. Oh yeah. YouTube has a bat in its belfry. Somebody going to tell me what YouTube's doing? Could a serial killer train his dogs to kill, then he goes off to another location? I suppose that's possible. I don't know. I don't know though. If that provides the same stimulus that most serial killers seem to crave, something about them doing it themselves is, I don't know, it's the rush or the endorphins or whatever sick, mechanics are going on in their brain. But I think generally most serial killers are consumed with the act of unaliving someone, that somehow that's giving them some sort of stimulus, the idea of looking into those eyes, and, then the horror that the person is experiencing is somehow empowering in just a twisted, dark, horrible way. But I don't know. I don't know. All I know is I watched Dexter, and that was disturbing a lot of times. But he used his sickness for good, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of one of those shows that it was like, you kind of root for him, but you're kind of like, oh, this is twisted. This is weird. But anyway, all right. I haven't had any YouTube issues. Okay, good. Kicking us off and shutting down. Okay. That's weird. Huh. Well, yeah, Dexter was great. It was, I didn't watch it through its entirety, but I watched many seasons of it. And I found it disturbingly entertaining. I don't know. I don't like watching people get hurt. I never have. Unless it's a superhero movie, then it's all good because, they're superheroes. But, I can't say that's all true. I mean, I've found many, war movies in a horrifying way as well. But, I mean, this is something that people experience. And so when you watch a movie like Saving Private Ryan or, Full Metal Jacket or something, it kind of gives you a window into the experience that many people have lived through and have to live with. And so I guess it's, for me, it was, obviously they're very, very well done movies, but it also gives you an extra empathy once you see the horrors that people live through. So at any rate, I try not to watch people get hurt, even dramatically or theatrically. I don't know. I don't want people to hurt. All right, so let's get to the next one. I think it's another cryptid. Upright canine or werewolf terrorized Southwest Florida neighborhood. It's upright, folks. It's not just a wolf. It's an upright one. So let's see what's going on. In this older report, the witness states that she and her friend's family experienced a series of strange and unusual events. I've been asked not to divulge the name of the community and specific area, but I will say that the general area has had a very high number of unexplained incidents over the years. In fact, Southwest Florida and several specific counties in that region has exhibited almost every paranormal and supernatural phenomena imaginable. Hylon, we had a house in Southwest Florida back in the early to mid 1980s. For over a week, our neighborhood had lost a series of what I had a series of what I believed were werewolf stalkings. Ugh. It was June, I think, and around 9 p.m. I was out back on the patio, and at the time, no one had fences around their property because all of us knew the other families around the area. The only exception was the family across the street from us. They had a 7-foot-tall cinder block wall behind their house. They had a large wooded piece of property and kept equipment out there. My dad was in construction, and the wall enclosed 3 sides of the property. Well, it was hot out and a slight breeze, no clouds, and starry. As I sat there, I could hear the dogs in the neighborhood begin to bark. And then everything got quiet. A lone wolf howl started. So I hauled back. I do this rather well. I'd watch National Geographic and would mimic wolf cries. Well, anyway, this went on for about 5 minutes, and each time the howl from the other end got closer. Down the road are train tracks that run north to south. The sound seemed to come from that direction. I started to get spooked as the howling stopped. Yeah, no kidding. Our yard had bushes and a tree on the side where the sound came from. The hair on my arms and neck started to stand up, so I felt like I should go in. Good call. Good call. As I stood, I heard movement by the bushes. I glanced over and saw something move. I didn't wait to see what it was, so I booked it into the house and stood by the door, which had glass panes in it. I watched as something very large and dark moved about the bushes. It moved away, and I could no longer see it from my vantage point. I went to the front porch to look out the windows, hoping to get a look at whatever was there, but it never came out that way, so I went to bed and read for a while to calm down. About less than an hour later, my brother came home. He came to my room and was as white as paper. He was shaking all over, his eyes the size of saucers. I asked him if he was okay. Now, my brother's the sort that has an explanation for anything unusual, and he's a big guy, so for him to be in this state was just not normal. He said, "I need you to come with me right now. I'll explain when we get in the truck." I was still dressed, so I got up and went with him. When we got outside, I asked what was going on. He told me there was something in the road by the tracks he needed to show me first. I was not happy about that, as I had just had my own experience with something from that way. Well, as we got there, it looked as if something had exploded all over the road. There was blood everywhere, as if something was mowed down on that spot, but there was no body parts anywhere. My brother related then what he'd seen coming down the road. I was coming home, and as I got closer to the tracks, there was this huge thing lying in the road. Well, I thought it must have been a Mastiff or a Great Dane in the road, but as I pulled up to it, it didn't look like a dog that I'd ever seen. It was hairy. Its head and nose was twice the size of a dog. The body wasn't a dog, just dog-like, but much, much bigger. It was all over the place. There was an arm on the road, not a dog, a human arm. There was no trace of anything when we got there, and it was only minutes that it took us to get there. I said to get the hell out of there now, and we went back home. I told him what I experienced just before he had got home. A couple days later, my sister came to me and said she'd been seeing a large dog prowling around at night. It was huge, and she had seen it across the street as she sat on the porch. Well, I told her what my brother and I saw and not to be outside alone until we could find out what it was. We got together and decided to stake out the yard over the next night, and sure enough, it was back in the neighbor's yard. This thing was about the size of a Shetland pony. Black in color. We had flashlights turned on it. we had flashlights turned on. It took off to the back wall behind the house. Their dog was going off like crazy. They had a small terrier. Yeah, that'll do it. We watched this dog thing scale the wall. The neighbor came out to see what was going on, and we shouted there was something in his yard. He went back in and grabbed his pistol and went around back. But by that time, it was gone. Yeah, that's creepy. That's plenty creepy. But there you have it. Cryptid canines, folks. Those stories are pretty compelling. Again, it's from the 80s, but could they be transient as well? Probably. They could probably wander around, follow train tracks. I mean, if some of these things are, path of least resistance kind of creatures, an easy meal would be to follow train tracks and follow roadways, because what do you see along roadways all the time? The animals that didn't make it. Deer, fox, raccoons, all kinds of things. So it's literally like a stretched out buffet in a lot of ways for something that would need to, obviously eat to survive. So, yeah, crazy. It blows me away that these and the Sasquatch are literally in the outskirts and in civilization. It makes it seem less believable, but I know it's happening. Yeah, here again, I mean, what an opportunity. We as a society are incredibly wasteful. Think of the foods that we throw away regularly. It's, this hot dish is a little old. You can hear my Minnesota coming out. Hot dish. This hamburger's a little old. Let's chuck it out. So we throw tons of foods away. And what low-hanging fruit would it be for something that's, digging for grubs and, hunting game and stuff? It's like, well, we'll just go over to that box and just dig through the bags that are in there. We'll find lots to eat. So it really doesn't surprise me at all that they move in and glean the benefits of our wasteful societies, because, we throw away tons of foods that would be very edible. And, dogs are always going through garbage. Even your pets, they'll dig in the garbage. It's my old German Shepherd dug through my garbage a few times. It's like, no, because they're not gentle about it. They're very messy. But things I wouldn't have thought of eating, she just thought was amazing. So, and then, of course, she'd get an upset stomach, and I'd have to follow her around with a spray bottle and a lot of hopefully good timing. So she had a sensitive stomach. So, she loved to eat everything. Her body didn't love eating everything. So anyway, I don't know. They would surely follow paths, man-made or not, I would imagine. Absolutely, Taipan. I think for sure. What an easy way to subsist and survive, especially with the encroachment of our development on their lands. These may have been lands that became our, subdivisions and suburbs, but were maybe used by them for thousands of years. Well, they just found new ways to use them. So I think we grew into them probably more than they grew into us, but it's probably a little of both. They come in because these are lands that they always used, perhaps, and because they always leave full. They never leave hungry. There's always something to eat, if it's our house pets, house animals, our pets, or our waste, or our livestock, chickens, whatever. So they're always pretty well fed when we're around. Not intentionally, though, at least in most cases. But I'll tell you what, folks, it's been a full 2 hours of fun. I hope you've enjoyed the journey, and I thank you all for being here with me as we go through the portal. What? Oh, I misread that. Oh my God. I didn't know you said palm. I was like, eh? Sorry. It's POM. All right. Jesus. I really need new glasses. I gotta get some like closer glasses. I usually only wear glasses for far away, but I can see the necessity to upgrade my prescription. I was like, Anyway. All right. But this is going to conclude our journey here on the Paranormal Portal. So thank you all for being here. It's bedtime, Annie says. Yeah, I'm with you. So anyway, I hope you guys all take care. Have a great couple days. I will see you on Friday night. Again, if you're a channel member, watch for the release of the Davenport Hotel investigation. That'll be coming up in very, very near future. I'll hopefully get it done tomorrow, but I do have an interview tomorrow, so it could skew my plans a bit, but I will put it out at least for sure by Friday, and then I'll probably open it up to the general audience by Monday, I think. So at any rate, I hope you guys check it out when it goes live. And please, once it goes live and is open to everybody, please send it out. Let people know. Share the links. It would go a long way. I mean, it's a new endeavor for us. Well, for me, but, Don has certainly investigated with me. And for Charles, who's a wonderful guy and has been, wonderful in helping to coordinate some of these investigations. So it would help all of us to, let people know what we're doing. And of course, all these shows, feel free to share them, watch for the podcast. I just released the video podcast today of last Monday's episode. So it's now live on, I don't know if it's updated to BitChute yet, but it's definitely on YouTube as well as Rumble. And you can check it out. It was Crossing the Stranger Bridgerland. And it was my interview with John Olson, a great guy. We had a good discussion, and hopefully you'll enjoy that. Thank you for those of you who have checked it out, and I hope more of you will. So at any rate, it's just another attempt to do things that I love and put it out there for you guys. But the Davenport Hotel was a wonderful experience, and I hope you guys enjoy the video. It's about 50-some minutes long, so it's almost an hour, but I hope it's entertaining and informative. Give a lot of background on the site and the location, and then the actual footage of us investigating. So some pretty cool stuff. That's all I'm going to say. But until then, great show, Brent. Thank you, Isaac. Good to see you, brother. I didn't see you come in. I didn't do shout outs tonight, but just know that I'm absolutely thrilled. I'm thrilled to meet some new people. And of course, to see all of the familiar faces. You guys are amazing. And thank you to our mods who keep the lights on and keep everything in order. Not that not that we have an unruly crowd. We've done really well having wonderful people checking out the show, and any of the tools seem to leave us be, which is good. But thank you all. Thank you all so much. And remember, we love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice, take care of each other, help each other out, find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. I'll be back on Friday. Hopefully Sheldon will be here with me, and we'll dive into it again. And then Saturday, Jimmy will be joining me. So we'll see what we can get into next two live shows. So again, Friday and Saturday night, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on whatever platform you're watching. So thank you guys. And until next time, be good.